Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today we're going to be cleaning out the carburetor on my old 50s Wisconsin. Stick around, you might find it interesting. Getting a late start this year. No time for a change. I'm a little concerned mice might have made a home in my wood splitter, so. In fact, this might be the latest start I've ever gotten on any year. Lucky for me, we had a bad storm last year. Brought down a lot of trees and they've been drying out all summer. Alright, here we are. Everything seems to be alright. There's no major issues, so go ahead and start unloading the tools. I'm probably only going to need the 1/4 inch stuff. Probably should have checked what size I needed first. Oh yeah, both of these are 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. I'll need bits. I can undo the hose clamp. And I'm going to need some Allens. There we go. So this is an old Teledyne, Wisconsin, from somewhere around the 50s. This is a TH. Yes, this is a TH model. So it's a 2-cylinder, air-cooled workhorse. Usually they make between 10 to 20 horsepower. And it's a pretty cool setup. They got a it's got a gear drivetrain like a diesel, you know. So the gear drivetrain runs the oil pump and the governor, and there's a coil for firing the ignition. So this is an old Zenith carburetor, just as old as the motor, obviously. Don't hear much about Zenith anymore, though I don't really work on tractors and stuff like I used to, so I guess it makes sense that I haven't heard about it in a while. But as far as I know, they're not big on the scene anymore. This is the clutch. Oh my god. This is the choke that I'm loosening right here. There we go. So the choke cable's undone, and I unhooked it here, and I unhooked it at the inlet. Now all that's left is the actual throttle. It's got this weird safety pin set up, and I might have nobody to blame but myself for that. Pretty sure I was the one that put that in. That's pretty embarrassing, but anyways, and there's our carburetor. So let's get this on the operating bench and clean her out. So I haven't had this cover off since I owned it, and the last one I painted the heads. So I grabbed a pick to try and pick some of the paints out, and whoops! Oh wow! What the heck? Who knew? Who would have guessed? Alright, it's time to see the carnage. Oh my god. Oh no. Excuse me, sir. I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Boop. What a shame. But before I can blow out all that crap from around the motor, gotta clean the carb out and put that back on. So here she is, the old 50s, 60s, somewhere in there. It's a Zenith. You might have known them from their electronic days. A little more recently they made TVs and cable boxes and all kinds of stuff. So let's get this thing apart. These carburetors kind of look funny on the inside, if you ask me anyways. Does that remind you of anything? I always thought this was a pretty cool carburetor. I mean, look, it's got different restriction sizes. for the airflow, and all the jets can come in and out. You can buy all different kinds of sizes for every jet. So this carburetor will go on smaller and larger engines, and you just need to change out a couple of the parts. So overall, it's looking pretty good. It's a little crusty. There's definitely some corrosion building up. You can see on the shaft in there. Looking a little corroded, but nothing some sprays won't fix. Alright, it's Bryman's time. Berryman. Blast it out. Soak for a little while. Both sides of the plate and the floats. Definitely want to get the valve. Well, we blast out the float valve and blast out these jets here. Clean around the throttle plates. And you know, right now we're just doing some spraying. In a little bit, we're gonna start scrubbing. And if you're seeing what I'm seeing, that float valve is stuck closed. That thing that you see coming down isn't the actual valve. There it is. Now that's the valve. So now that we've got it to come down, we just want to get in there and give it a... And then you want to work it. Try and clean all the crap off that's sticking to it. And see, now the whole thing comes down. Now I have these cheap plastic bristles brush that I usually use. You want to get some Berrymans on it. And you don't want to be aggressive, you know, you just like you're brushing your teeth. Mild force, nothing too crazy. Alright, now for a thorough cleaning of the jets. We're going... And when you're putting these brushes in, you know, you don't want to slam them in there, especially if you're using cheap brushes like me. You see they've got this, the brush material doesn't make it all the way to the end. You really should just clip that off. I'm just lazy. So, to make up for it, you don't want to ram it in there and scratch the hell out of the bottom of the jet, or the back wall inside the galleys. Because this is a pretty, I mean, you know, it might not make that big of a difference, but we are metering fuel with these surfaces. You don't want to scrape them up too bad. These passages are too small for brushed pipe cleaners, so that's what these tiny twisted up pieces of metal are for. Same principle as last time. You don't want to ram it in there. Just gently move it around. You're not trying to make the hole any bigger, you know, you're just trying to clean whatever's in there. And of course, when you're done, you blast it out again. Now we're looking at the choke plate. Looking pretty clean. So I'm happy with that. All these passages are clean enough for me. All the Blue Jays are hanging out watching me. Well, now that the carburetor's cleaned to my liking, I'll come over back to the float valve, because a lot of times the first time you clean it isn't always enough and it'll get stuck up on you again. So what I like to do is take some, you know, I use 656, you could just use WD-40, I mean, whatever the hell. Basically you just spray some in there and work it in, work it. Then we reassemble the carburetor. Let it rip. Of my own personal preference, I'm just spraying some 656 on the bushings here. Try and get this worked in a little bit. And so that's enough to make me happy. Go ahead and start sliding her back together. Start the air compressor and get blasting. Well, that turned out to be a bigger project than I anticipated, but I do have it all cleaned out now. I blasted this out and this out, so we're good to put the carb back on now. Alright, Blue Jays are still hanging out with me. Which is surprising, they're usually getting ready for bed at this, the sun's at this stage. Carburetor's bolted in, the inlet hose is all lined up so I can tighten it. Nice and gentle like. Go ahead and put the choke cable back in there. So, just gotta hook the safety wire up to this throttle linkage so that it doesn't just kind of fall out once the engine gets a shaking. Yeah, once that's wrapped up, now my speed control can be hooked up to the safety wire. This thing's kind of been rigged up, if you will. So, I'm gonna bend all of this stuff in like that. And I'm gonna grab a zip tie. Everyone avert your eyes. Make sure the women and children are out of the room. You don't want them to see this. Alright, that's idle. That's ready for work. Alright, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I don't think one zip tie is quite ugly enough, you know? Especially since, you know, they're such a dark color like neon yellow. I want to make sure everybody can see my shame from about a mile off. Yes, yes. What are we thinking? She's all ready to rock, huh? Alright, so a fuel pump, I use the auxiliary tank from my truck. As you can see, I hook it directly to the carb, plug the fuel pump into the tank. Now I turn the pump on. And now we can try and start it. So what I'm gonna do is start it with this cover off, just so any remaining nonsense in here can be blasted out. All that's left, give her a little bit of choke, and watch your goddamn wrists. So we'll go ahead and put the cover on the air ducts. Definitely don't want to run it too long without that on. That is a very essential part to this engine. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay for work.